to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for joining us today. Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high-impact life. Now, here's Rick.
Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I'm Rick McDaniel. It's great to have you joining with us again today. And we're excited about finishing out season 6. And by the way, it's not going to be today, but over the next 5 weeks or so, as we finish out season 6, we're going to do what I call one-off episodes. So a lot of times we deal with themes like success or happiness or stress, and many others, mental health. But then there's other times when we do just like one individual episode on a particular topic. And so for the rest of season 6 here, instead of doing a theme, there's just a number of different issues, different interests that I have that I'd like to share with you, like today's, which I think is just fascinating research on how a good marriage actually can help you physically, not emotionally. It certainly can do that as well, but the physical help, I think, is really a surprise. I think you'll find it fascinating. And we'll talk about other sorts of things. We'll do one on finances because I always feel like it's good to do that. And it's always helpful to see if we can't find a way to do better with our finances. Money is important for everybody. And the more that you can handle it well, the better your life is going to end up being. And we'll talk about some other motivational type things as well as talking about an episode on leadership, which is something that I don't talk about much on this podcast, which is many people find interesting since I spent a big chunk of my life in major leadership roles and wrote a book on leadership and literally traveled the world speaking on leadership in South America to Russia to Europe, all over, speaking on leadership. So something I know a fair amount about, but I don't talk about it much anymore, although I've got this chapter coming out in this new book. So in a couple weeks, we'll delve into that. And I'm really excited about that because in this particular episode, that chapter and episode, I'm mixing together leadership principles and insights with inspirational principles and insights in inspirational leadership. And this is a wild story how it all came about, but it's really, really satisfying, gratifying for me because all these years doing inspirational ministry as well as lots of leadership, and now focusing more just on inspiration and being able to blend the two together, both areas that I love, am committed to, devoted to, and I think have a lot of knowledge and proficiency in, and I'd love to share that with you. So that's all coming up as we just work our way to June and the end of season 6. With, I think, some really, really good episodes. Now, I talked last week about, the website update as well as the leadership thing. So I've just given you more information on that. We don't have anything new on the website yet. Taking a little longer than we'd hoped, but believe me, that's in the future, and we'll certainly be talking about that as well. And lots of other good things happening, some shows that I've been on. And so we'll see if we can't share some of that information with you as it comes out, so you can watch or listen to some of these things. And also what we're doing with YouTube, we're trying to take what we've done here and put these episodes on YouTube, which I think just opens us up to a new group of people who consume their content through YouTube. And so I didn't know you could do the audio, but turns out you can. So we'll be talking more about that as that comes about, as well as other things. And believe me, during our break, we will be thinking, reviewing, evaluating, and seeing if there's anything new that we want to do with Point of Impact in season 7, any changes we want to make, and what we think will be more positive and helpful. So all of that is in the future. And it's going to be good. But today I want to talk about 7 ways a good marriage makes you healthier. And that is, I think, a fascinating thought. When I first read an article talking about this, I was like, this is remarkable, because I've spent a lot of years counseling couples. I've been married for a long time, decades. I have spent a fair amount of study and research on it, and I've covered it, and I've done multiple episodes, by the way. You want to go back through the episodes in Point of Impact, you'll see a number of episodes having to do with marriage, spoken on it many times, done an entire series of messages, counseled many couples in terms of getting married, hundreds. So I've covered it, but never in this particular way, which is always exciting for me. If you spend years and years on a subject and you try to dissect it and like a diamond, you try to show the various facets, like marriage, if marriage is a diamond, and the various facets, which is a great challenge, but I enjoy that. And then to be able to find a new facet, I think very cool. But it isn't just cool for me, because this podcast is not about me, it's about you and what can help you and what you are interested in, what can be a blessing in your life. And I think when you hear this research today and realize that working on your marriage and significant relationship in your life has not just the typical emotional benefits that you would expect and all of the other relational benefits that it brings to your family, and if you have children, to your children, to your extended family, and what it does for your mindset in terms of your work, all that. But there's actually physical benefits as well, research-backed physical benefits that come out of having a healthy marriage, a happy marriage, a good marriage, not a perfect marriage now, but one where you're doing enough things right. And I wanted to do this because I've been sitting on this for a while, but as you know, if you listened to last week's episode where we talked about courage and some of the things that I saw when I went on my latest trip in Columbus, where Columbus launched the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and then in Lisbon, and where Vasco da Gama and Magellan and people that discovered, opened up this world to Europe and just changed history. I mean, when Magellan circumnavigated the globe, that changed everything. Turns out that, in fact, the earth is round. It's not flat. You can't fall off of it. And went all the way to the Philippines and unfortunately died there. But the ship, the Victoria, made it all the way back. It's amazing, just absolutely amazing to consider. So anyway, that's last week's episode. But the point of that is to say, on that trip, I spent 12 days with my wife, like literally every moment. And I mean, almost every moment, I suppose, not every moment, but it wasn't like we ever were even separated for half a day or whatever. It was pretty much together. We were in a car driving because we traveled all over by car. And so driving in the car, staying at the various hotels and resorts and going on the various tours and trips. And so coming off of like a nonstop sort of experience like that, it just was fresh in my mind. And I thought, why don't I share this with you today? So here's what I can tell you. A healthy marriage can significantly improve the quality of your life. And it is strongly associated, as you're going to hear, with better health outcomes. The long-lasting effects of spending time, with someone you love are, I think, fairly well known and documented. But the life-saving aspects, that is really interesting. So here we go. First way, good marriage can mean a healthier heart. American Heart Association 2017 reported in their journal that unmarried people with heart disease were 52% more likely to have a heart attack or otherwise die from a cardiovascular issue. Wow. In fact, the mortality rate is higher in general for unmarried people, according to the National Center for Health Statistics. So just overall, you do better in terms of your life expectancy being married rather than being single. And then this study by the American Heart Association that people who are unmarried, I mean, that's really something, you know, we're 52% more likely to have a heart attack or otherwise die from some sort of cardiovascular issue. It's just, you know, kind of ironic if we play off the heart. You know, when we talk about the heart, we mean both the physical heart, the muscle in our body, but we also, of course, use the heart symbol all the time. Valentine's Day, emoji, whatever, you know, to speak of love. And so turns out the two are interestingly tied together, that your heart, your physical heart, is greatly benefited and impacted by the heart you have in terms of your love for your spouse. And the fact that having them in your life simply means that you are less likely to have a heart attack or to die from some type of cardiovascular issue. And that's remarkable. And we'll see now, as we go through this research today, we will see that there are some theories that researchers have as to the why for some of these things. And I'll share some of that with you. I'm going to give you my theory on this first one. And I just think that when you have someone who knows you, spends the most time with you of any other person, they're more aware of how you're doing, and so they can help you and identify things for you that you need to address in terms of your health. And just having someone do that, and this I think is especially true of men who are a little oblivious and not particularly prone to go to doctors. Women are more sensitized, I think. And so they can say, hey, you know, you don't seem yourself, or hey, I noticed this, that, maybe you should go, that sort of thing. I mean, just something as simple as that, having someone look out for you as opposed to not be married to someone who sees you all the time. I think that in and of itself is at least a partial explanation for why people end up doing far better. I mean, 52% more likely to have a heart attack or otherwise die from cardiovascular issue, unmarried versus married. Wow. Okay, the second one, marriage relationship leads to lower blood pressure. 2018 study, Annals of Behavioral Medicine, discovered that people in good marriages, satisfying relationship, have significantly lower blood pressure when interacting with their spouse. I mean, this is just amazing, you know. Listen to what one of the researchers said. Marriage is robustly associated with better cardiovascular outcomes in the long term and predicts lower blood pressure on a daily basis. I mean, those, again, just straight research facts here, that something as important, and again, I don't, know if this is on your radar screen or not, but doctors are really, really big on blood pressure. It's a huge sign that things are not right if it's high, and they're very attuned to the fact that you need to keep your blood pressure in a healthy range. Otherwise, you open yourself up for an early death and for a lot of other potential stroke, all kinds of bad outcomes. I mean, blood pressure is just such a simple thing, which is why it's taken all the time when you go to the doctor, because it is a very simple way of determining initial, easy determination. How are we doing in our health? Just based on that. And I think that it's fascinating. The quality of the relationship does matter, because the higher the quality of the relationship. But I'll tell you an interesting story that, kind of plays into this, not perfectly, but one time I had someone come over and I had to have like a physical done for a life insurance policy. So they weigh you and, they measure you. And in my case, it's a little different because my weight is higher than it should be for my height, but that's because of my muscle mass. So, they measure the size of my chest and arms and all this stuff, and it all gets documented. This guy is in good shape. It's just that he's got more of the athletic build, and so his measurements show that it's the muscle that is the causing the higher weight, not a fat issue. So going through this whole thing, and then we come to the blood pressure thing, and I would always have higher blood pressure readings. They call it the white coat syndrome, wherever. It's like when someone's taking your blood pressure, you start thinking about it, and somehow it like increases your pulse and your blood pressure. And that particular day, we were sitting at my dining room table, and my dog was sitting there next to me, and I was just petting the dog while they took my blood pressure, and I had the lowest blood pressure reading I'd ever had. That I could ever remember having. And the lady said, wow, your blood pressure is really great. And I was like, that's weird, because generally speaking, it tends to be higher whenever I get it taken. To the point that at one time they asked me to bring home, to get like a blood pressure monitor and to, take my blood pressure at my house over like a month-long period to see if I could get a better reading on what my actual blood pressure was. And over time, if this, white coat syndrome thing where I would just like pet the dog or, be engrossed in watching a game or reading or something, that would be different than a doctor's office environment. So that's my little experience with just the fact that being in a good relationship is just brings your blood pressure down. It just does. And it's an enormously important. It can seem small, but any doctor would tell you it's not small at all. All right, this one is fascinating. A good marriage can make life less painful. Pain won't become a thing of the past, but a healthy relationship can reduce it. The International Association for the Study of Pain did research, and they completed 2 different studies with couples. And in one study, they assessed how relationship satisfaction affected a person's experience of pain. And what they uncovered was participants who reported greater relationship satisfaction consistently experienced less pain. So the question is, how? What? And the answer was by being able to speak to their spouse during the experiments. So the spouse was in the room during the experience of pain, and because they were able to talk to their spouse about their pain, it caused them to have less pain. Consistently experience less pain. And I mean, that's just like amazing. And you think about what an issue pain is. I mean, my cousin's husband literally has a pain center in Arizona. The entire practice, and it's big, is devoted to helping people with their pain because there's chronic pain is such a huge issue. And I'm not saying that, being married means you have no chronic pain, but again, less pain. That being married and having someone to talk to about your situation that you're going through physically simply causes you to have less pain. I just think that's remarkable. It is a remarkable little factoid, to just say, man, that I never thought of it that way. And again, after coming off of 12 straight days with my wife, just imagine the amount of conversations. Going to dinner every single night and, traveling together and just constantly together, having all kinds of conversations, obviously, amongst other things for sure. But the idea that being able to talk about your pain makes it lessen just simply by being able to speak to your spouse and to have them there as a support, which is a great word for a happy, healthy marriage. It's supportive. The spouses support one another. All right, fourth, happy marriage leads to better sleep. University of Minnesota researchers, 2019, that happy romantic relationships, marriage improves sleep quality. Now, you think, how does that work? So one explanation, just one, but it's an interesting one. One explanation for this is that people who have a good marriage have relational skills and stronger social networks that help to reduce their exposure to life events. This is what one of the researchers said from the University of Minnesota. Chloe Holmitz is the name. This may improve their ability to cope with stressful events when they do occur and face fewer stressful events, and then that leads to better sleep. So having a spouse, and again, being able to have the support, shoulder the burden, we're in this together kind of mentality. It's not just you that's going through it. We are going through it together. And because we are going through it together, we feel more supported. And those relational skills that you build up over time, and again, haven't been in a decades-long marriage, I can attest to the fact that yes, you simply do. You simply develop better and better relational skills, practice, experience, and stronger social networks. Because again, the social networks, the longer you stay together, obviously, you increase your social network. Just like when people get divorced, it can be so challenging because the friends, the social network, is then in a situation where they have to somehow choose between, and that is always difficult on everyone, and don't have to do that when you stay together. Really interesting stuff, I think. All right, here's another one. That the marriage can actually be good for your gut. The guts, the microbes in your gut are critically important to overall health. We know this. I'm sure you've heard, probiotics, prebiotics. There's trillions of bacteria, fungi, that make up the body's microbiome, if you would. The system, the microbiome system, microbes, all this, and they control your immune system. So a healthy gut, enormously important. So University of Texas, Austin, did a study. Lauren Gerard is one of the researchers, and says that these loving relationship improves the gut. for an immune boost. 80% of your immune system and the vast majority of your body's microbes, right? Microbiome is the whole system, and the microbes are there. 80% of your immune system reside in your gut. The feeling of love can help nurture and support your life-enhancing gut microbes and fight off harmful bacteria that can cause you to feel unwell or sick. So the entire microbiome system is supported by the loving relationship. I mean, this is fascinating stuff to just ponder and consider. You're taking probiotics. I'm not saying you stop taking them because you only need to focus on your marriage. Maybe you need to do that too. That hopefully that's what comes out of this. Is like, man, I had to work on having a better marriage, because there are just amazing health benefits that come out of this. It's just absolutely remarkable to think that your gut, all these trillions of bacteria, that 80% of your immune system is impacted by. And I have to tell you, I'm someone that hardly ever gets sick. I mean, I see it like a long-term, happy marriage, good marriage, and my immune system. Again, if you listen to this podcast, I never had COVID. I was tested 25 times. Sometimes I forget to say that. People are like, well, you had it, you just didn't know. How many people were tested 25 times? I traveled to 8 countries, 16 states, all kinds of flights, never had it. And that's just one example. I mean, I just have overall health. All right. Healthy relationship helps you form better behavior. Northwestern University Medicine, Dr. Stephen Fisher. Benefits of a healthy relationship leads to healthier behaviors. Being in a relationship that inspires and encourages good behavior, a partner has an easier path toward self-improvement and self-growth. So being in a healthy relationship encourages better behaviors. Again, if we go back to this stereotype, but it's a pretty solid one, that men and women, in terms of men not being so prone to go to doctors or whatever, it's the same sort of thing. How many men how many husbands, and this guy included, have changed the way they eat, for instance, or things that they do because of their wife's influence? You need to eat more of this. This will be better for your health. And that kind of being in that kind of loving relationship, marriage, where your spouse cares about you and cares for you and is looking out for you, this is what it leads to. I think it really just makes perfect sense. When you're in good relationship, marriage, you're going to be encouraged with good behaviors. I see you doing this. You need to stop doing this. You need to start doing this. It makes sense. All right, 7th way. Happy, healthy, good marriage. Spouses heal faster. Stress reduces the body's ability to heal. Healthy relationship does the opposite. University of Utah. Professor of Medicine, Benjamin Steinberg, we see patients with strong social support having better recoveries. When you are in a good marriage and you have that support and the strength of the relationship, when you do get sick, you get better faster. You improve, your health improves quicker. 2005 study, Archives of General Psychiatry, explored how wound healing was affected by both positive and negative relationships. Couples were administered blisters, and then the healing process was observed. Couples that reported having spats, things were not good, experienced slower healing than those who were less hostile toward each other and more loving. So the more loving, the more healthy, the better the relationship, the marriage, the quicker the healing. It's just amazing. This is fascinating stuff. I think it is, at least, that all the emotional benefits that you get from a good marriage, all the ways in which it blesses your life in so many ways we can't even get into, because that's a whole nother episode. On top of all that, there are identifiable research-based data that says your overall health is going to be better because of it as well. So the answer today to all this is make sure your marriage is healthy and good. It's going to lead to a happier, healthier life for you, and you're going to live longer as well. Have a great week.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.